My name is Kihembo Wilbert, born and raised from Uganda's rural village of Kyowa in Kasese district. As I turn 27, I look back on my life with gratitude, strength, and purpose. I have learned that some of us are brought into this world not only to live, but to inspire, to remind others that every life has value, and every life has meaning, and every person, regardless of ability or limitation, has a role to play in making the world better. I was born into this world with a disability after my mother went through a difficult labor during my birth at Kagando Hospital.
Was born in 1999, June 26, and all that time we even baptized him by December 1999. The boy could not even sit, but we continued to hold him as a small baby because of the floppy neck. If you would hold him, he would not sit upright, but horizontally would just make sure that we hold him.
In the midst of confusion, hardship, and uncertainty, my parents gave me the name Kihembo, which literally means gift. That name has always reminded me that we are not just born to exist, but to experience life in our own unique way.
Kihembo at 5 years, that's when he started crawling. And he liked plays. Even if it would be rainy, even if it would be muddy, he would wish to play with the rest. So he would grow and follow friends wherever they would go. And at that time, we even developed the skin around his knees, the skin around his feet, and even arms became so whitish. The color of the skin got off.
I live with cerebral palsy, a condition that affects the brain and makes speech difficult, sometimes non-verbal, and also limits muscle movement. But my condition has never been the full story of my life. It is only one part of who I am. Behind the struggle, there is determination. Behind the silence, there is a mind full of thoughts, dreams, humor, and hope. My loving family, led by Reverend Wilson Mali and the Froza Massacre, brought me to the universe as their third born in a family of 5 boys.
And while I was in the hospital, the pains continued, but the opening did not happen. Until they gave me some treatment that made me have a lot of pains now. And when it came to deliver Kihembo, I was very tired, and they had means of how they pulled him out. He was also too tired, and I was also very tired. And Kihembo was taken. I think he was even put on oxygen. I couldn't remember, but his health was not good. And personally, I was too weak. You can imagine getting Kihembo at noon, and I received him at 4.
The child came out weak. The child would not believe that he was alive because he could not even manage to suckle the boy, the breathe, and the whole general body was very weak. Sometimes we would think he was not alive until maybe you would touch him You'd just get close, very close to him to know that he was alive.
Was unable to suck milk. I would only put milk on spoon and let him drink. So the life continued, but Kihembo would not improve. We would cover him and he would not believe that he was alive. We would see his face and he would not believe he was alive. There was a small part around his neck that would only show that there was a breath. And there is a time when we assessed that he had died. We called the doctors and nurses to prove it for us.
My mother went through difficult labor, and when I was born, I could neither cry nor breastfeed. My childhood came with delays that many people could not understand.
When we were in the hospital, the mother got prolonged labor for 3 weeks. She could not push. Until when she pushed after the 3 weeks, the child came out weak.
I only began walking at the age of 5. That was not just a physical milestone. It was the beginning of a journey of patience, courage, and growth.
So before 5 years, even the feet was another struggle. We would take him to Kabarole Hospital, to Kagandu Hospital, to make sure that his feet lands down. He was even given some operation on the heel to make sure that the foot lands on ground properly. His left. Kihembo with that, he spent some sleepless nights, crying day and night. Then after removing that cement, I took him to Kabarole where they gave him some flat shoes, but tied behind. You would put on flat shoes and you tie them on his thigh to sleep at night. All that life, he would not feel comfortable to sleep, and we would spend with him some sleepless nights because they encouraged me to always have his leg with that shoe.
Until one time when we got some lady who had also had a child of the kind. And this lady told us, bring me a carpenter. I'll advise the carpenter to make a gadget for him. And we took the carpenter. The carpenter produced a gadget. And we do not know even the name of the gadget. But now, from experience, it was a walking frame. And Kihembo would want to ride that frame, probably to us we are calling it a bicycle. So he would want to, he yearned to ride the bicycle. He yearned to ride the bicycle. And the more he yearned to ride the bicycle, the more the training that he was getting. And finally we found him getting up and making a step in the walking.
For my family, my life has been a story of love, care, and faith. For me, it has been a life of learning how to move forward even when progress is slow. One of the greatest gifts in my life is that I still have grandparents from both sides of my parents. That is a blessing I do not take for granted. But there is also pain in my journey. One of the hardest things is not being able to have long conversations with the people I love. Sometimes I have so much to say, so many questions, so many feelings, but speaking becomes very difficult. That silence can be painful. It can make a person feel alone, even in the middle of love. Still, I have learned that love is not only carried by words, it is shown through patience, understanding, and presence. The person I love most is my mother. She is my favorite person, the one the universe gave me, and her strength has shaped so much of who I am. My education began at the age of 8. I remember insisting, even crying, to go to school with my mother, who was a teacher.
There is one time when he held his clothes and wanted to follow me. For me, I had left home, but the neighbors saw Kihembo following me. Me, I had gone. But on my return, the neighbors told me, kindly allow Kihembo to be going with you, since he wants to study also. Another overnight prayer about Lord to have us have a clear plan about his education. After prayers, my heart said, well, let us take him to Rukoki. When we took him to Rukoki, because Kihembo does not feed himself, even when he would go to help himself urinating and other activities, there was no support. But the school said, we cannot manage.
That moment changed my life. It opened the door to learning and gave me the chance to discover myself.
I'll be going with him at school and see how I handle everything. So I began moving with him at Bescando Primary School, on motorcycle and back home. But then, when I reached there, he completely refused to study P1. He selected a class of P2, where he saw a teacher who was friendly to him. And it was a class that was having friends to him. So friends became his best company there, and the teacher.
I studied in mainstream schools where I was the only child like myself. The situation was not easy. I faced discrimination, mental bullying, and environments that were not built with someone like me in mind. Yet, I chose to focus on the kindness around me. I held on to the teachers who believed in me and the classmates who accepted me.
The director daylight, head teacher there, and the teachers were too friendly to him also. He got a lot of friends who would even accompany him, would let him go for toileting and feed him, even give him company at home. He liked the school. The director liked him. The head teacher, he got the best life at daylight until he finished his primary 7. At least every year he would get friends, and every year we would see him because those people would give him, they would finish school before he finishes. So we would attach him to several friends from our family to study from there, meanwhile keeping with him.
During his early stages of life, we could hire people, young children, young boys, young girls, to take care of him. One for washing, one for cooking, one for walking him, and another one for taking him to school. it was very expensive. And indeed, it's expensive taking care of a child with disability. And these people would play a big role. Of course, they would come, others go, but would keep on hiring more and more. His education definitely would move with someone. And when someone, of course, someone older than him, when that person leaves primary and goes to secondary, then we would bring in another one. So we ended up even educating, paying fees for a number of children for the sake of Kihembo.
Their support gave me strength and helped me keeping moving forward.
That school where I had his primary, got concerned with him, took care of him, and it actually played a big role for his education.
We received Wilbert Kihembo at Daylight Christian Primary School in 2013. He was in primary 2, and we stayed with him for all that time we were together. Sometimes we were suffering with him. Life was not easy, and definitely the way he was, sometimes it was not easy, but really God assisted, and we managed to be with him all that time from P2 up to P7.
When Kihembo of course could not use a pen because of his disability, could not handle a pen. So we had to buy a laptop for him.
I struggled very much, brought a vehicle here and kept monitoring how his child was doing the PLOE. So at the end of every paper, we would rush to a place called Nyakasanga, which is around 3 kilometers from here, to print out his work, then brings it back with the help of his father who had brought us a vehicle. Otherwise, if his father did not put in a lot of effort, would actually fail because we couldn't get where to print them from. But Kihembo did his work without any person's help of helping him with answers. He was very brilliant, very clever. The problem was being slow, but all the same he did it and made it up to the end. It had rained very terribly. It was a muddy place, but Kihembo resisted and did his work very well.
Kihembo completed primary 7. He went to secondary. So amazing. That was a Bright Academy, where he also experienced the love of the school, the love of friends, and he completed his O-level.
We helped him entirely use the computer, which would now take to a printer and then print his work. Every time we would finish even teaching, then we'd be going to the printer, we print his work so that he gets the notes to read. And it helped him. And this was done by these friends I've mentioned at O-level, Igidio and Visombwere. They were doing this work perfectly, very well. And they also got an ICT skills from him.
In a world that often moves too fast, I have had to move differently. I often carry many thoughts in my mind, but my body does not always respond as quickly as my thoughts do. That can be frustrating. It can feel like I am always a step behind.
They helped him to have the life at school simple, because they could assist him during times of lunch. They could assist him during times of charging his computer, because he was entirely using a computer. All calculations were done on a computer, and we really thank these people. They did a lot of work to ensure that Kihembo accomplishes his level of A level at this very school, Bright Academy Secondary School. What pleased me was the performance he showed at the end of senior 6, which enabled him to join university, and as I speak, is now a very big person serving this whole world.
But even in that struggle, I have never stopped being present. I have never stopped thinking. I have never stopped dreaming. Outside of my challenges, I live a life filled with simple joys and personal growth.
We became friends, we studied together. He taught us how to use the computer. We learned how to use the computer. He had the challenge of eating.
He was a special student. When he was brought in school, we arranged for him a special place where he used to have his meals from, breakfast, lunch, and I loved how the parents were caring about him. Because every day at lunchtime, if you don't see the mother here, the father would come and check on the welfare of Kihembo. Wilbert was such a well-disciplined boy. He loved music. And whenever it was chapel time, we enjoyed the music that he was using he had on his laptop. We would be enriched by the messages in the songs.
Basically, Kihembo is an inspiration to me. I will say anytime I look at him, anytime we interact, I see or I find a reason for me to keep going because this guy is intelligent. I'm pushing him to teach me a lot right now, from Forex to coding to Binance to all these things. These are skills which I could learn, but I haven't learned. He's a very introverted person, but a very, very, very kind-hearted person. Each and every time I'm learning about his achievements, they become more clear to me that Kihembo is actually a really, really great guy. Basically, at this point, I will say he has become too audacious enough to overcome his disability, and that is got nothing on him because he is doing a lot. He is doing amazing. I wish the world could actually come and open their eyes and see that, and any organization out there can come and give support to the dreams and the aspirations that he's working on.
I first met him, that was in 2016 at Bright Academy. And it was quite alarming because I had never studied with someone who was disabled like Wilbert. But then with time, I came to know who he is and how he was supposed to be treated because I had found him at school since I was a new student there. But I came to learn how he's supposed to be handled and how he was an easy person to go with as long as you understood how to handle him. I also came to be coherent with whatever he used to be. After some certain period of time, we became friends, and I never had any problem with interacting with him. Well, though it wouldn't be much more of classwork because we would get some challenges in conversations because I wouldn't understand some words very well when he spoke them out. But then afterwards, he actually could get a piece of paper and try to write a little bit, though the figures would be quite bigger than the normal size of a letter. And then whenever I failed to understand some word, he would try to write. I look for a pen, I look for some big paper where he would write some big letters to get out a word. Then afterwards I would understand what he was meaning and we would proceed with the conversation. And then if there weren't a paper and a pen, he would use his computer and type whatever I wanted to speak as I also respond.
As a school, we have learned from him that every other person on this earth can manage anything. There is nobody who is not useful because the first time we looked at him, we thought they are wasting money on him. We thought he would not get even anywhere to work, but we are overwhelmed to hear that Kihembo is now an international figure.
I spend most of my time learning, listening to podcasts, and sometimes reading personal development books. I also enjoy watching movies, especially romantic and science-fiction documentary films. These moments give me space to imagine, to feel, and to connect with stories beyond my own. Living with cerebral palsy has taught me resilience. It has taught me empathy. It has taught me that inclusion is not a favor, it is a right. And it has taught me that every human being deserves dignity, respect, and a chance to shine. I also engage in business. I own and run small businesses and startups, which continue to teach me responsibility, creativity, and independence. Even in the small things, I find happiness. A simple meal like rice and potatoes is one of my favorites, reminding me that joy can be found in everyday life. I believe I am here for a purpose. I do not see my condition as a burden. I see it as a different way of seeing life, a different angle, a different lesson. The universe gave me this path for a reason, and I have chosen to walk it with courage. My story is not only about disability. It is about strength. It is about family. It is about struggle, faith, learning, and hope. It is about a boy who wanted to go to school, a young man who refused to give up, and a life that continues to believe in the power of tomorrow. As I turn 27, I carry my journey with pride. I carry the love of my family, the memories of my teachers and classmates, the pain over the past, and the hope over the future. I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and I'm still here with a purpose. This is my story, and it is still being written.